All right. Hope you all having a great day. I feel pretty good. I've been feeling good the last few days. And I feel like it's just because I'm bringing myself back. Right? As I talked about, I'm bringing myself back to that plan, to that process. And in that, I'm starting to even rediscover some things and discover some new things. So one of the things I'm very excited about is that I'm getting back into my Eastern wisdom phase, right? And it's not a phase. It needs to be a way of life. Because I find that every time I interact with Eastern wisdom, I'm better for it, right? So I actually have a copy and I'm going to start reading the Bhagavad Gita. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. You spell it, just spell Gita, Gita. I've been listening to Sadhguru again, and the more I listen to these things, like I've done it in the past. Like there'll be periods of time where I would listen to gurus and monks and just Hindu teachings, just whatever, right? The more I listen to these things, the more I typically become spiritually connected, mentally clear, and honestly, like even listening to Alan Watts, right, which he sometimes talks about that, and he also just talks about nihilism. Like he talks about a lot of different stuff, but I feel like the more I delve into that kind of wisdom, it answers questions for me that are like deep questions about life, about all of it. And that's just not something I find when I'm only looking at things through a purpose and passion and just the general life perspective. But the more deeper questions, the meaning of what I'm doing as far as it relates to, God and just purpose in general and karma and spirit and all of that. So I love that. One thing that I heard today was, one thing that really, really stood out, because I watched a couple videos today about the Bhagavad Gita. This was like, I don't know if this was in it or this was just a part of something else, but I think it was Lord Krishna saying, it may have been him or somebody else, but the one line that stuck out was they said, all we ever really typically do is react, right? So we don't typically take action, we react. We take reaction throughout our lives, and that's because we act with a motive, right? And it can be the simplest thing, but yes, we all do act with motives. Like you can say that about everybody. And when you have a motive, that motive is conditioned, whether it's good or bad, right? This is not a negative thing. Whether it's good or bad, your motive is conditioned by something. It could be your surroundings, it could be your mindset, your experiences, your trauma, or all of it combined. And it typically is, a couple of those combined. So when you act, you are just reacting to your conditioning, right? I want you to keep that in mind, because when I heard this, I was like, damn, that's deep. When you are acting, you're really just reacting to your conditioning. And for me, it posed the question, well, can you even act without having any, without like being dependent on a framework or your conditioning? Because as little as you might have as conditioning, or as programmed as you might be, I feel like we definitely all have conditioning, but can you eliminate it from your actions was my question. And I feel like I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet in my understanding of that logic, right? Because even if I'm learning good stuff, I'm being conditioned, right? I'm going to start thinking of things in a new framework. So everything is conditioning. But I think love might be one, right? Like true love could possibly be like just momentary, like a spark that happens. I don't know. I just don't know the answer to that question. I'm gonna leave it there because I gotta do more research about that. But that's very dope. But the reason why that stood out to me and why I want to know more about that is because one of the core concepts in the Bhagavad Gita, which I'm starting to learn, is that you have to take action without being attached to the results of those actions, good or bad, right? And one of the gurus said it best, like it could be better than you expected and you need to be able to handle that, or it could be worse than you expected and you also need to be able to handle that. And I feel like that sums up the core of my problems, right? Because how much freer can I feel and be, and how much more alive will I be if I'm not analyzing everything? I'm always analyzing. I think it's a curse of people who are smart and isolated, right? Because you're left with your thoughts, and your thoughts are logical. So there's reason to interact with them. You're smart, and since you have logical thoughts, a smart person is going to interact with those thoughts. But I'm too logical for things that don't need logic to it. Some things just need some muscle. Some things just need time. But if I'm always constantly thinking, then one, I'm not doing in those moments. But more than I'm not doing, I'm tainting my focus. Another thing, I wish I could remember these gurus' names, but there's just different gurus on YouTube. This was Sadhguru that said this. He said, because somebody asked about it, if you're always focused on a goal, right? They say you have one eye focused on the goal and one eye focused on how to get there, right? It's inefficient. You need to have both eyes focused on how to get there. The rest will sort itself out. So you don't need to overly concern yourself with the end, where am I trying to get to? What you need to do, right? You understand, I think we all know and understand where we ultimately want to go. And if you know that you don't, then you have to sit with yourself and get there. But if you know, hey, I've sat with myself, I know this is what I want to create for myself. This is the kind of financial picture I would like, the kind of impact picture I would like. And bigger than just yourself, right? I'm not just saying this is about desire. Also think about this from the lens of what are you here to do? Not of your own design, but of the Lord's design. What are you here to do? So thinking about that is very important, and I'm trying to kind of put that puzzle together for myself of it's bigger than just me, right? It's bigger than just me, but I also have to I also have to deal with the other aspect of it, and that's the human nature of desire, right? I feel like nothing I've said for the past 7 minutes and 51 seconds has made sense, and that's okay because I'm still working through it myself. But what I'm trying to say is this. As I just said, one of the core concepts, we have to be able to act without attachments to the goal. Because the goal is going to be what the goal is going to be, right? God is going to have his way. God is going to have his way. And if your way that you have in your own mind that you created, if that aligns with God's way, then God bless. You're going to be happy and fulfilled. But if the way you created does not align with God's way, then you should also be happy and fulfilled and humble enough to know that God's way is the way. And, the way that you thought initially, that ain't it. And that's okay because we're not perfect beings. That's okay. All right, so that's what I'm taking from that. And I'm going to use my full 30 minutes here. So I'm just letting you know that now. But all I'm going to say is I think the Eastern wisdom is very powerful, right? The gurus, the Bhagavad Gita, the yogas, the Vedas, all of that. And I'm not an expert on none of it, but it's like when I hear people describe and talk about it, it's so pure and aligned that it's just like, and when I say that, I'm not speaking about religion at all, right? Because I'm not religious myself, but I really like texts and stories and analogies and all of that don't rely on religion to make a point, that don't rely on fear to make a point, that don't rely on acceptance into hell or heaven to make a point. And this is across any religion, right? That strictly rely on you and your being. And now I think every text, the Bible, the Quran, I think every text has elements of that, and in spades, elements of just rules and things that you can apply to your life without it being tied down to that particular religion, right? You might have to kind of think about it a little bit differently, but that's why I really like discourse. I love conversation about religion and stuff, even though I'm not religious, because it helps me think about God in one way or another, depending on what the topic is or what the story is. Like, it just helps me think about him in different ways. All right? So that's what I feel like I need to dive into more. Now, another thing that I'm realizing as more of an awakening, right? Because I'm definitely in a stage where it's this duality of I'm really like wanting to grind right now, fix my financial life, like go to war on this debt. And I don't have insurmountable debt, but I have debt and I need to clear it up. So I know, like I've done some countless hours of watching financial videos, and I will tell you, without a doubt, debt is not your friend. And I think everybody knows that, but knowing it and knowing it like in your spirit is two different things, right? I know in my spirit, oh God, I know how much of a mistake it was for me to take out a car that needed as much of a loan as I did. I put down like $1,000 in down payment. That's nothing. So a car payment is not your friend. A car payment is not your friend. And if anybody is thinking about a car payment, I would avoid it at all costs. I've learned, and this is why it's important to grow your awareness and really train your mind, start getting on new wavelengths and things, because I know for a fact that a car payment is tantamount to the devil. And it won't be happening in my future whatsoever. Like, I might have to have been hit in the head with a log and I forget everything I know, because I will not be doing another car payment. It's stealing from your future. And this is, you know what, I think this is going to be the second half of this, because I so desperately want to tell everybody I know, but I'm trying to be humble in that, one, I have more to learn, and two, if people don't ask for your opinion, nobody wants somebody just always prodding and prying and always want to say something and think they're a know-it-all. I don't even like people like that. Right? If somebody asks for your opinion, fine. If it's an open discussion, fine. But, hey, how are you? How was your day? Are you investing in the S&P 500? Do you have a car payment? Like, nobody wants that. That's what's on my heart to share with the people I love and know, because I want what's best for them. And I know there's just certain things that are just simply true. Like, car payments are really not good. They're really not good for you. I'm not going to say there's 100% of the time it's bad and you should never use it. Maybe there's a one situation out of 1,000 where the person's in this kind of a situation and they need a job in this amount of time and this amount of... Fine. But for the average person, most people who want a car can delay getting a car. There's very few people who need a car like tomorrow, or else their world is going to fall apart. So most people can delay getting a car. And if you don't have the money to buy a car outright, right, you should save up the money and then buy the car outright. Whatever you're doing that doesn't have you having that car payment, if you're taking the bus, riding a bike, you may need to go purchase a bike until you can go purchase a car. Whatever it is that you're doing, you need to wait until you have the money to buy a car. And it might be that you need to save up enough money to buy a $5,000 car. And then you don't have a car payment, so instead of $600 a month, $500, $700, $1,000 a month, instead of these crazy car payments, you just multiply that by the number of months it's going to take you to get the car that you actually want. So if you buy a $5,000 car, it's not going to be no top of the line nothing, all right? Maybe you got to do a couple repairs, and then you're good to at least drive it maybe 100,000 miles, right? Maybe a little less, but that's a lot of miles, right? That's going to last you a while. Enough to save up the money. So if you are sparing yourself of a $500 car payment, and you're just gonna have to bear with me because I'm gonna be going all over the place. This is me sharing my advice as a 24-year-old young man in this world, some of the stuff that I've been through and going through, and all right, so just stay with me. That $500 a month, if you don't put that to a car payment, after 12 months, that will be $6,000. You got $6,000. You could buy a whole nother $5,000 car. But maybe that's not what you want to do right now, right? Because the car you got is still good. You want to save up a little bit more. In another 12 months, now you have $12,000 car. You can definitely get a much better car at $12,000. And you might be able to sell your $5,000 car for maybe like $2,000 at that point. Or maybe you can't sell it at all. Whatever. But you've saved up enough money because you haven't been paying this crazy car payment to have $12,000 a month that you could go and buy a car that will last you much longer than a $5,000 car will. I'll pause there. But the real reason I'm saying that is because the car payment is stealing your stock market money. That's as simple as it has to be for you to understand. Because I'm pissed off that I have to pay this debt. And I'm being aggressive, right? I'm paying more than the minimum car payment. And I'll say it. Like, I'm embarrassed by the dumbness of the decision. But I'm not embarrassed because I'm aware enough to do something about it. I'm not bragging. But my car payment every month, $682. $682. My total car loan at the moment, it's underwater at $27,000. It's not $27,000 underwater, but the total payoff is $27,000. So my plan is to go God mode and pay that off in a year. Working hard doing Uber, doing some other stuff, like pay that off in a year to free up my car payment. Why? That car payment is stealing my S&P 500 money. Stock market just went up like, damn, how much? AMD up fucking 1,000%. Like, now I'm investing in QQQ. Like I said, that's a little tad bit. But it doesn't matter if you're doing S&P 500, QQQ. All of these, main ETFs have long-standing track records, and you're going to make money if you hold, I think, for a period of 7 years or more, right? So if you pull out any investment calculator, what is $1,000? Start with $500 a month. I want to say, because I've done this a bunch of different times with different figures, but I want to say $500 a month from now. I'm about to be 25, so 25 to 60 is 35 years. $500 a month with no existing seed money will probably get you by 60. I think it will be right around $1 to $2 million, maybe a little bit more. I'm not exactly sure about 5,000, but $1,000 by the time you're 60, I believe you're going to have somewhere in the $8 million range. $2,000 by the time you're 60, that's where you start to get to the double-digit millions, right? 14, 15, 11. It's somewhere in that range. I can't quote you the figure off the top of my head. I'm talking about per month. So you mean to tell me, right? You can sign a loan for a car for 7 years, 8 years, whatever, and be paying $500 a month. And that money is going to a depreciating asset. All you get to do is drive around in the thing. But if you take that $500, I wish I could just, I'm using my phone right now. I ain't going to do the whole thing because you can look it up yourself. But if you take that $500 after 8 years, well, let's just do some quick math, right? That $500 for 12 months is going to be $6,000. 8 years is going to be $48,000. Your interest on that $48,000 is probably another, and I'm talking about just for 8 years, you'll probably gain like $20,000 to $30,000 more. So you're going to make somewhere around $30,000. You're definitely going to make a couple tens of thousands for sure. You're going to make some $30,000 on your money by the time you're finished, as opposed to losing $30,000 on your money by the time you're finished with a car loan because of interest. And you're paying more and more. Man, I could talk about this for way too long. So I'm gonna keep it there because I'm going to go on a whole nother video and I'm going to just, Because if I could have a job where I just show up at car dealerships and slap the living hell out of people who are thinking of taking on these crazy loans like I've done, I would do it. And if somebody smacked me 10 times over and said, you're not doing it, boy, I'd be thanking them right now. But you can only do what you can do right now as you are. And then you can become more and do more. I'm in the process of becoming more mentally so I can do more, right? Having a right financial plan, a plan for wealth, a plan for how I'm going to get to the millions. And I do have a plan. It's called, drum roll, the stock market. And you need money to put in the stock market. And we have these beautiful things called jobs, but we use all of our money to live above our means. And above your means does not mean that you are capable of living check to check. Above your means does not mean that I'm spending all my money, but I have a couple of hundreds of dollars that I can put to savings. No. Above your means you are living a lifestyle which does not allow you to save a good chunk of your money for investing and saving. A good chunk. I'm not talking about your little 3% that you put up at your job and your 401k. No, we need to start saving chunks of money. Downgrade your lifestyle, upgrade your investments. Man, this is not advice. It's not financial advice. It's not life advice. This is nothing but a rant to myself about what I should have been doing and what I'm definitely going to be doing. This, like, if you can't see already that this is not about you, this is completely not about you. This is 1000% about me and my dumb decisions that I've made so far. I just told y'all about cars. I didn't even go into credit. You don't even want me to start about credit. Whew. Man, you got some things to learn. There's some stuff to do. Start watching your Dave Ramsey. Start watching your Money Guy show. Start listening, start downloading information. I've taken a break off of social media, and I'm not considering this social media. This is a glorified vlog. I've taken a break off of social media because it's distracting for me right now. Both as a user and as a poster, it's just distracting for me right now. So I've taken a break off of that. The only app that I'm using right now is YouTube to get education, right? And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I get just swept away in the algorithm and I'll look at some entertainment and stuff. But the only reason I have it downloaded is to get the education. Otherwise, I couldn't justify it. And I am getting a lot of education, and I need to consistently keep up with that. It's easier for me to do that than read books, but I have books, but I have to spend the time to read books. And here's why. Not because of the lessons that I'll get from reading the books. Not specifically, at least, right? I think book reading, if you just look at some of these book summaries and some of these YouTube videos that have been created about books, like, you will really get the essence of what that book is saying in that video. It might be a 40-minute video. It might be an 8-minute video. Maybe you don't get the full thing in an 8-minute video. But you'll get some pretty big chunks of what that person is trying to say in the video, because that's all they're focused on, is giving you the key details. Whereas a lot of times a book is a book. It's going to be laden with just like watered down like pathways to get to the point of the actual information. All books have it, right? All books have it. Like every single piece of every single verse and every single text is not the hardest hitting lesson. No, sometimes it's just a segue and it may take a minute to get to that point. And sometimes it's valuable, sometimes it's just not really that valuable. But what I'm going to say about books is simply this. Books are valuable because of the type of person you become from reading the book. Yes, when you read a book, you are going to also be training your mind a little bit more than that video. I think more than anything because the hours that you're going to spend reading the book versus the short amount of time it takes you to consume the video. So you're being more and more trained, and all of the examples that they're using in the book to consistently reinforce, it's just getting stuck in your head. So I'm not saying that reading a book isn't better, but sometimes it just feels like with how long it takes to complete versus how long it takes to complete a video, that balance is hard to justify sometimes. But I justify it with the statement I just made, that you're ultimately going to retain more. And reading a book is a discipline that is disconnected from screens and dopamine and all of this stuff that we deal with on a consistent basis that degrades our minds. So when you read a book, you're also growing in character. So I'm a big advocate for reading books, right? Don't get me twisted. I'm a big advocate for reading books. I think it's smart to balance it though. Like, you should do both, right? Read a book, but also get the videos, right, to give you that quick hit of understanding. Read the books to reinforce and develop that character. Not advice. Not advice. This is me thinking through my own thoughts. Now, about this whole thing right here, I find that this is valuable for me, right? And I don't care if one person watches the video and I do 600 of them. I find that this is valuable for me because I don't care what I'm saying, really, if that makes sense. Like, I care what I'm saying, but I'm not concerned with it. Like, if I say something that's wrong, I'm not like, oh my God, you idiot. If I look wrong to somebody for some reason, I'm not like, oh my God. Like, I need a haircut. I plan to go get one tomorrow, but I don't care. I don't care. Like, that's not what this is about. What this is about is me expressing my thoughts. That's why this channel is called These Are My Thoughts. And the reason why that's so valuable is because so few people do it. It may even be valuable for me to just go back and watch the video, right? Because there's no sugarcoating, no clickbaiting, no nothing, no advertising. And I don't plan to do any of those things. I don't. All I plan to do is just express my thoughts in the purest form. And if people come and, like I said, I want you to ask questions and stuff like that if you have them, just to help get your own perspective, because ultimately that's why I'm doing this, is just to provide my perspective in a sea of billions of people, just to provide my perspective because it may be helpful to somebody else. And this is not going to distract me from the journey that I'm on. It's just not. I feel it in my soul, and I can be honest with myself. I'm a big proponent of being open and honest with yourself. And I can be honest to say that I can stay focused and still do this. This is not very difficult. As you see, my lighting is not, YouTube. There's nothing. I'm not trying to put anything in my background. I don't care. This was the shirt I was wearing before this, so, you got to deal with it. So what? This is strictly about honesty, transparency, and, perspective. And man, I don't have any plans to do social media anytime soon, but I think people need to hear this stuff. People need to hear from a 27-year-old in Singapore what they're going through. Like, honestly. Because it's so foreign to me. I've never been there. I don't know anybody from there. But from your perspective and your way of life, right, the alternative to this is traveling. But everybody just can't pick up and get on the jet whenever they want and go wherever they want, right? But people need to hear different perspectives, different lifestyles, different opinions. Like, let's bring it back to the block. If you grow up on a block and you don't ever leave, you're not going to know anything else. All you're going to know is the stuff on the block. What the people on the block do, what the people on the block think, and that's it. You have to expose yourself to different ways of thinking, to different people, to different environments. So that's really my goal with this, is just to be one seed, one drop in the bucket of that. And I would love nothing more for this to encourage other people to do it, because I think this could save the world. Not me, but this as a whole world. If we actually showed up and expressed ourselves. See, if I was clipping, I would put this in the intro. But if you're still here, you're still here. I rock with you. But look, if we showed up as ourselves, you cannot look at social media. It is so garbage. And I can tell you that as somebody who's done social media with pure intentions. I manufacture myself on social media. Not in an intentional way, not in an evil way, but it is like almost automatic. We put on a persona on social media. That doesn't mean we're being fake. It just means that we're not being as transparent as we possibly can be. And sometimes that's for good reason, right? Sometimes you have to protect your image. I'm not saying that you can just do this and say whatever you want all the time, and you can and be successful. But I'm not going to say that is going to work in 100% of the cases all the times. Maybe if you're a politician, maybe you should not say every single thought that comes to your mind, right? Like, I'm not saying this is the cure all, but what I'm saying is, especially as people who are growing, right? People who are still learning and developing, as we all should be, but specifically people who are younger, right? Specifically people who are younger and who need more guidance in their life. And by young, I'm talking about kids all the way up to 30s, 40s. You still young. You got a whole other half of your life to live. Some people die without proper guidance. But I'm saying that if we have these different perspectives, like I might listen to somebody and they may say something that is such a parallel to my situation, but they're doing one thing different and it's working, that I may say, oh, wow, like I never thought about that working for me in my situation. I've heard people say it and, they don't really know what it's like, but here you are going through exactly what I'm doing, but you're doing something a little bit different and it's working for you. How can I say that you don't understand? You're in the same boat as me. You're just doing something different. And if I can see that and know that you're being honest and transparent, I would try it. Whatever you're doing, I would try it, or maybe think about it, or whatever, somehow integrate it into my process or my trial and error. And if that works for me, like, isn't that a beautiful thing? Isn't it a beautiful thing? And here's the catch of what I'm trying to say. It would actually work. I'm not saying that thing. I'm not saying that person. I'm not saying all the time. But I'm saying somewhere out there, there is a young man or woman. There is an old man or woman. There is someone out there that is missing a bit of context, a bit of perspective, that if they had it, and they would willingly implement it, they're that type of person, but if they had that perspective, that way of thinking about it, that frame, it would change their life. But they don't. Because when they go to social media, all they see is fake. All they see is dressed up. All they see is motives and agenda, so they can't really trust it. Or they got people in their life who mean well. They're their family. They're their parents. They're all of this. They got people in their life who really mean well, who really want the best for them. But those people are consumed in their own experiences. So they're really speaking from what they wish they did or didn't do a lot of the times. Because they don't want you to go through the same pains they go through, even though everybody lives a different life and it's not apples to apples. And so I'm not saying that you're going to listen to everything everybody says or anybody says. I'm saying you should have as much to your disposal to take in. Because the less that you have, the more limited you are in your understanding. Having one perspective and one perspective only does not make you a genius. It just makes you closed-minded. And are you so sure that that's the right perspective if you haven't explored the other perspectives? Listen, man. I really love this, and I could sit here and talk to you for 2 hours, and I really do want to do that. But like I said, I want this to be digestible, as whirly round as a way that I have taken you today. Because I know we started talking about Eastern wisdom, then cars, and now I'm talking about life and advice and all of this. I just need you to stay with me, but I want to make it digestible, so I'm going to cut the video here. Not cut, I'm just going to stop. No editing is going to be happening on this channel, no thumbnails, none of that. I'm telling you, this is as honest, this is as transparent, This is as raw as I can possibly be. It doesn't get any more than this. I have nothing to gain. I have nothing to lose. I don't care if anybody thinks, oh my God, what is he doing? He looks crazy. Why isn't his lighting? I don't care about any of that. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is getting the raw authenticity of what I'm trying to say across. That's it. So, like I said, I want it to be digestible, if it can possibly be, with the journey that we've been on in this video. But maybe you need to watch it again, or rewind to a certain part to really get rewind to that car payment part. Woo! Rewind to that car payment part. Damn, so much emotion just fills up when I think about that. I better not catch you out there going to get no car payment. I'm being dead serious. I better not. I don't care about no co-signing, no none of it. I better not catch you getting no car payment after this video. I don't care. That's it. That's all I have to say. I'm going to leave it there. God bless. Like, that's it. We're just going to keep doing these. And I like it. And it's not distracting. And I did go, man, there's so much. There's so much. And the reason why there's so much, right, is the last thing I'll say. And right? Because I know you're still listening because you want to make it to the end. So I'm going to give you what you want, right? I don't know where you're off rushing to, but this is the last thing I'll say. I can script and we can do all of these things and edit and chop to make a video 8 minutes packed with the best cuts and the best edits and this and that. This video could be running for 2 hours easily without me hardly ever really breaking my train of thought too much. As far as the train that keeps going. Like, I could speak for 2 hours flawlessly, no script. I haven't thought about anything that, like, there's certain ideas that pop up, but there's far from anything like a topic or a script. None of that is happening. This is raw emotion. This is raw thought that's being put before you. No scripting, no none of that. The reason it can go on and on is because of that transparency. So I want you to know and feel in your spirit that this is what you're going to get here. So if you show up here, if you watch these videos, this is what you're going to receive, and like, be a part of it. Be a part of it. And what I mean when I say that is comment, because if we're not all uploading our videos, at least we can have discourse, right? It don't have to be about anything that I said. It could be about something that I said. But if you're in the comments, talk, right? Let's have discourse. And I'm going to be just as open, just as forthcoming in the comments as possible with you, like I am in these videos, because it's important. We don't have these people in our life that we can talk to like this, that will just be 100% honest. I don't care, except that we do this right, because I want this to be something that is natural and that happens within society. And one day, maybe I can encourage one other person to do what I am doing here. Because if the world did it, I think we could benefit from it. All right, peace. God bless you. I'm out.